All right. Welcome back, everybody, to our next episode of the Project Echelon webinar series. I'm joined today by Mike Brooks and co-founder of Project Echelon, Eric Beach. And so today we're going to continue talking about a topic we started talking about last time before Thanksgiving, and that is the holidays. And the holidays are meant to be a time to be with family. They're meant to be a time to celebrate one another, practice some traditions. But that's not the case for everybody. Sometimes that brings some stress. Sometimes that brings some anxiety. And we want to talk about that today. And we want to talk about where those feelings come from. And then we want to talk about, well, what can you do to address that, to overcome that, so that you can enjoy the holidays in the way that you're planning on. So, Eric, this is a topic that's near and dear to you, and I'm going to turn it over to you to talk about why.
Yeah, cool. And it's funny. It's not funny, I guess. But the reason why I was really excited about this topic is because Thanksgiving just passed, and it did not go well for me. And sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Veterans and civilians alike, we can struggle at this time of year because it's a lot of holidays, a lot of family, a lot of dynamics we can't control. And so for me, coming off of Thanksgiving, I did some things. I struggled. And really wanted to talk through from a professional standpoint and a personal standpoint some of the mistakes maybe I made, some of the things I could have done differently, some of the things that I did that worked for me, and kind of all tied through all three of us. Because Eric, I think you also, as a civilian, are going to. I mean, you have a sister who serves, so there's veterans in your life as a nonprofit co-founder. And I think all of us can learn through this conversation of an open dialogue where, Eric, if you have questions about how you've had experiences in the past, I'd be happy to answer those too. And Dr. Mike can obviously bring some professional foundational stuff that can, anchor in what we talk about today. So to start, maybe can I just share what happened with me and kind of some of the things that I did? Maybe that would be the best.
I'd love that, because honestly, like, the holidays are a happy time for me, and I struggle to understand why somebody might struggle with that. So I think hearing an authentic story and a recent story would be really helpful.
Right. Okay. And when I do this, I want to set this up because this is not me trying to badger anybody or blame anybody. Because one thing that I've found with myself is when I go through something, there is no benefit in me shaming anybody else, blaming anybody else, because that only further isolates me. And that's what I used to do, is justify why I shouldn't be in the picture, why I shouldn't be part of the family, why I'm the outsider, why I make everything worse. And that's where I get the negative spirals down. So that did not serve me for many years. And so what I do now, and what happened was, I get upset with people. I get triggered. And sometimes the trigger is very benign. It happened to be feeling judged, or, an old wound, like lying. If someone was to lie to me, then I feel, or manipulate me, I get really paranoid. I get really freaked out, because in Iraq, after really digging into this, and I'll get into how I did that later, was when things are manipulated, when people lie, very bad outcomes happen. So we develop a core belief, or a key decision can be made. And in this case, there was a key decision that I made a long time ago, because two of our guys got captured. And after 3 days of searching, they were executed. And the key here is that the trigger was not that memory. And Dr. Mike, I think, did you explain in before kind of what CPT uh, was as a modality to kind of deal with triggers? I'd be curious to get into that after I tell this, because I have a question personally after this moment. So I've done CPT, where we process the trauma, think about it, write about it again, think about all the details until that memory is processed correctly to a memory. It can be sad, but not traumatic eventually after we process it. So that wasn't it, but it came up. And the thing that I realized was that the ICE vendors that befriended the unit over weeks or months led to this trust, where the first sergeant took 8 men off the detail of the security checkpoint that was where these ICE vendors would come up and sell daily ice, down to 2 people. And on that day, they were captured. And 3 days later, they were executed. So in my mind, lying and manipulation and trust becomes this very unsafe thing. It's not so much the memory triggers a chaos theory, mind bending thing about, Iraqis in war. It's, you're not safe, I'm not safe, and it's a traumatic response. So I want to start there and kind of pick that apart a little bit with you, Dr. Mike. I've done CPT. The trauma, I can talk about it, it's fine, but I made key decisions that were general statements of belief that if you lie or manipulate, I am not safe, and that becomes a fear of death kind of almost reaction in me.
Can you talk about what CPT is? I'm not ever sure everybody would be familiar with that.
Yeah, that's what I want, Dr. Mike. Can you? I could try, but I think this is a good one for you to explain.
You're saying CP is in Paul T?
Yeah, CP, Paul.
Um, cognitive processing therapy, right?
Yep, yep.
Okay, so it's a type of cognitive behavioral therapy. So it's a subtype. Um, and so I know more about CB as in Bill T therapy. And what I can tell you conceptually is that there are certain practitioners and philosophers who believe that the way that you think is linked to the way you behave. So if you are able to change or alter one or the other, then the second piece in that will be directed. Um, I think Albert Ellis did the ABCs of cognitive behavioral therapy, and the A was the activating event, the B was the belief, and the C was the consequences. So, in people who are being treated with CBT, they tend to have irrational beliefs. So, the world is against me is an irrational belief. The whole world is not against you. So, in therapy, you tend to address and quote unquote go after the irrational beliefs. And you do that by just asking sometimes the converse. Well, is it really true that the whole world is after you? Is it really true that, it's usually a all or nothing type of statement. So that's the general walk away knowledge of what CBT is, and indirectly CP processing therapy is as well.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense because what happens is I can talk about traumatic events when I used to not be able to. I'd avoid them, and then as veterans, we think we heal in some ways, but there's still kind of that disconnect where CBT is in beach was, I believe, addressing the way you believe about or you think about a belief. So in this moment, if I say if you lie to me or manipulate me or I perceive that manipulation, I am no longer safe. So challenging that belief is now kind of where I'm at in my own therapy because as we heal, it's kind of a lifelong thing. And we have these partners along our healing journey, which Project Echelon was founded on, and why Dr. Mike is a huge part of that tricycle that we've established now in a way is that you have to have people in your life that can help you. And that help for me in this moment at Thanksgiving, it was 2 day process of me kind of going through depression, anger, but the key was I didn't erupt at the family event when I was triggered. I tried to stay there and expose myself to it, process, breathe, and it wasn't working. So I've talked to my wife in the past, and well, regularly we have these conversations where she knows that I struggle and appreciates me trying. She doesn't want me to hide from family, but I do go and we set up a boundary beforehand. It's kind of like when you're going on a mission in Iraq, you have a briefing. You have this is how today's supposed to go. If it doesn't go this way, here's what we're going to do. And so we have this action plan that I'm going to go. If I get triggered, it could happen and I can't overcome it, then I'm going to remove myself from the situation. And in that moment, I removed myself. I said I had to go take care of my dog, which is true. I do have a dog at home I have to take care of. But when I got out of there, this is where it's weird, and I'd like to hear from Dr. Mike because I'm sure I know I've talked to a lot of veterans, and they've done the same thing where either in person or once they get away from it, they have verbal yelling in the car drive where it's all the thoughts that you have in your head that are very damaging and very hurtful and will not help anybody. They just purge out. And I feel like for me, there's a necessity for me to kind of blame and it's all your fault and mother, why is it me that and the core is like, why is it that I'm the one that has to change? Why am I the problem? That's usually the narrative that is spoken in my head that's not true. But in doing it, I feel like there's an ability and a safe way to get it out and then say, okay, That's probably not true. Like you're saying, the world is not against me. It's not all my fault. The people probably do care about me, but I'm kind of going through something right now. What can I do right now to change the way my mind is going? And my wife texted me as I'm home and said, I want you to call Eben. I want you to get on your bike. I want you to lift your weights. I want you to do, 4 things. She gave me 4 options and said, do one of those. Just promise me you'll do one of them. And having that outside force that tells you, here's your plan, this thing happened, do one of the things. Just do one of them. And I think that and change gets your mind thinking of a different way so you can self-reflect. So that's what I did. And the conversation then became not what happened to me, but what can I do differently? What was the belief? What was I telling myself? Is it true? And that allowed me to heal that day and then enjoy the rest of the family time that I had. I lost 2 days out of it, but I could have lost a week.
I was gonna say, in the past, you lost a week to 9 days,
Yeah.
where I mean, I couldn't even get a response from you, and nor could Jenna, really. So yeah, that's a huge growth. It's a huge turnaround.
Yeah. And I think that's important. What you say is the measurable growth that you can have isn't Eric Beach he's hiding away. He's addicted to drugs. He's doing all the wrong things. He gets a bike, and then now he is running for president, and he healed the country. Like, it's not this huge step up. It's actually, man, you were only depressed for 2 days instead of 3 weeks. Like, that's incredible. Like, you did something. You got out of bed. You rode your bike for 5 minutes. It's all you could do, but you did it, and that changed the direction of your day. And I think there was something that happened with Project Echelon. With Josh Boguslavsky and Ricky Armpool, that was really important. What Ricky did with Josh is he helps coach him. He becomes, Josh does this great thing with racing. He's doing amazing, and he gave credit to his coach through Project Echelon training, that you got me here. It's because of you. And Ricky in turn said, thank you, but it's because of you. I just showed you that you can do it. And I think there's such power in the holiday season, in life as it goes. The power to reflect is contrary to the soldier mindset. It's selfless. And it's not selfless to say, I did this, I made this result happen. No, it's because of Eric Hill. It's because of Project Echelon, but so often the change happens when you say, what can I do to empower myself to make a change, and to honor that. It's not selfish. It's what would that be? I don't even know what the word would be for just receiving the compliment, accepting that you did the work and that you did make positive growth.
Yeah, I think that's just vulnerability. It's just, Mike, so something that Eric said that I want to talk about and see what your perspective is, and if it's something that you actively coach people through, is he said that he was aware of the fact that this situation often brings stress and anxiety. And so rather than either not go at all, or just go in blind and assume that everything was going to be okay, and then have an episode where like it just spiraled out of control without a plan in place, they made a plan. And that plan allowed him to execute with purpose, and then to overcome those struggles in a timely and relatively successful manner. Is that something you coach people through, is like developing their plan? And if it is, like, how do they go about doing that? What are the questions that they should be asking? Who are the people that they should be developing those plans with? Like, what does that look like, if that is in fact a thing?
Oh yeah. It's quite common. I'll say on the civilian side of life, with probably not as much intensity. I mean, we've done entire seminars with congregations of people on how to make it through the holidays. You don't insult grandma's potato salad, even though it's not what it used to be, 20 years ago. She's kind of lost her touch, but how do you avoid that? Or, step family. You have mom's bringing her new husband. None of the kids like the new husband. None of the family members like the new husband, but he is a part of the family. So in a much different way, but still can be kind of intense. Yes, these conversations are quite common. So I guess, and that statement kind of brings the conversation a little bit back to the holidays, because I think I think Eric Beach, even though you provided a holiday example, that's really your example has huge ramifications into the greater scope of just living, period. Not just the holidays, even though you lost 2 days of your holidays. But I think you should be applauded for creating a plan. And I think the plan can be as intense and as broad as you want it to be. So, do you tell the relatives where you're going? Hey, just want to make you aware. We got some things going on. We got some conversations we want to avoid. We have some areas of touch and feel that we don't do anymore. Um, anything. Most conscientious relatives will ask, "Hey, is everything okay? Anything we need to know? Anything we need to talk about before we get these 15 persons in the room, or I should say nine, because we're going to be COVID friendly in the house." Sometimes we have these invitations to self-disclosure. And I think you do what you just said. Um, we try to control what we can. So if you know that going into a house where there's volatility, maybe you shouldn't stay there. Maybe you should stay someplace else. And I tend to say go up the ladder, go to a place that's going to distract you enough. So go get a suite. Go get a place that overlooks some water, so you can separate yourself from the quote unquote hot spots. There is nothing wrong with showing up late or leaving early. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Um, Especially if it's going to be volatile. You can always say we got another stop to make. We'll be back. Um, go in sets. If you can send the wife over, or you can send the husband over first, if you are the wife. Yeah, so and so is bringing up the rear. They had to make a stop by the store. That whatever works for you is what needs to be important. And then when you're in the moment, when you're in the heat, I think you got to have check-ins. Well, you don't have to, but I suggest check-ins with your partner. Hey, everything okay? Everything going well? How are you doing? Um, and you kind of have to kind of feel it out. And then, when things do fly off the handle, there are a ton of things you can do. Um, you can take a break. Um, you can mind yourself, mind your feelings. Some people even suggest doing meditation right there in the moment. I don't know if your homes are big enough where you can steal away to a quiet room, bathroom, maybe not a bathroom, because the bathroom tends to be a busy room with relatives, but outside, um, I'm always volunteering to go to the store. I'm always the one saying, "I'll go. You might want anything from the store? I'll get it." There's always someone who's drinking too much. Fine, I'll get you a refill. I'll get you some soda. I'll get chaser. I'll get cups. That's always me. I love breaking out to get my own personal space. Um, and finally, if you just got to go, you just got to go. You just have to get out of there. And everyone, if they're family, they should understand that this is what we're dealing with.
I think one of the powerful things. So ultimately, Eric, you did have to go, um, but you still weren't alone in that moment, because Jenna then, like, you had the buddy system in place, and
Yeah.
luckily your buddy is your wife, um, but you weren't then alone after that. You had somebody check in and say, okay, so now what's the plan, right? Like, you can't just go home and curl up in a blanket. You can't go home and open a bottle, right? Like, you're going to go home and you're going to do something constructive so that when our family comes back, dad is ready.
Mhm.
Uh, and that, like, what is the importance of that to you? Like, is that an essential piece?
Yeah, and that's a really excellent point, because in the past, I would abuse things. I would go and something like my wife would go take a shower when we came home from the thing, and I would sneak just three glasses of scotch, and I wouldn't tell her about it, and she'd be like, "Why is the bottle empty or low?" Like, well, I would come up with a lie about it or something. And that wasn't healthy. That wasn't helpful. And now I'm 5 years sober, because for me, the decision was I put alcohol in too high a place in my self medication. So it had to go, and that's helped me a great deal. But when I come home, like you had mentioned, I'm lucky enough to have a wife who, I mean, she's amazing. She's so supportive. Our intimacy is conversational par excellence. It's amazing. And But even though it's amazing, she knows that she can't talk to me about everything. So that's why she suggested I reach out to Eben, because if it's something that's triggered me and it's in the film world, he's a Emmy award-winning producer and an amazing human being. He's the one who can talk me through certain situations. He's the one that can speak into my life positivity that I'm able to receive, because receiving the words is so important. Whoever it is, you have to find someone who you're willing to listen to. Eric Hill, you are one of those guys who over the years has been one of the people that can speak to me and I'll listen to, I'll hear you in a way that maybe Jenna can't. So I know there's certain things, if it's me wanting to go to Kona and then not being able to do it or getting injured, that's a conversation I know you can help me with. So having people with positions, just like Dr. Mike was saying, which I thought was brilliant, and I haven't thought of it that way, you have to have your squad. Like in the military, there's the point man, there's a rifleman, there's a grenadier, there's the machine gunner. And every time we go into this group, I know my function in this. If I'm in the rear of the squad and we're walking, every 15 meters, I have to turn around and be the whirlman to look behind to make sure no one's coming up. That's my job. I know what to do in this environment. And anything that happens, I can react to it. But I know I have my foundational base, and that has to be a healthy one. It's not going home and getting drunk. I have gone in bed and I set a timer for 15 minutes. And I said, I'm going to lay here for 15 minutes. I'm going to pout for 15 minutes. And then when the alarm goes off, I have to get up and do something productive, even if it's 5 minutes on the bike. And so developing partners in people and in behaviors, for me, watching a movie, I went home. She texted me and I chose to ride my bike first, do something active to get it out. And this was an angry session because the course on RGT was a super big climb. So it was
I think you said you chose to do Mont Ventoux. I'm like, oh, yeah, that'll get everything plus some out of your body.
So it
for
was
sure.
a very angry ride of out of the saddle for 5 minutes of just like, and that was good for me in that moment. I got off and then went and watched Deadpool 1 or something. I watched a movie because I love movies. I believe movies have a power to speak truth into life. If you, not Deadpool per se, but other movies, but it's a way for me to disengage and disconnect with the negativity that's gnawing at my brain just for a little bit, and then have some conversations. So then reach out to the people. So I have a process. But what Dr. Mike said about going to the party and, when I go to this party, I know what I'm going to do is I'm going to volunteer to go on every grocery run. I'm going to be the drink refill person. I have a purpose, and finding a mission and a purpose in all parts of life is so foundational to even my own thing. And when I don't have that, I find myself getting more weakened mentally. When I don't have a purpose and I don't have a function, I feel like I don't belong. And when I don't feel like I belong, I feel like I shouldn't be here anymore. And that's a really scary tunnel to go down to.
Just to add to what you're saying, and Eric, don't think I'm making light of your experience, but you don't need to be a combat veteran to be uncomfortable in a household during the holidays. So, you can always just volunteer. I'm gonna be the one to take a walk. I'm gonna set my watch to go off every hour, and I'm just going to take a walk. I'm just going to get space from this environment. I know in my family, typically my wife's family is loud and they're fun loving, but every now and then they can tell a joke and they're the only ones laughing. So after that happens for half a day, I'm like, this just isn't funny. So I'm like, you know what? Rather than me go upstairs and just zone out on YouTube videos, I'm just gonna go for a walk. And I don't have my bike, so I'm out of town. So I'm gonna find something that they have my kids with them. So I'm gonna go for a walk, and then I start going down the list. I'm gonna get some potato chips. I'm gonna escape from this at least long enough for me to feel like I've been vindicated, and I'll come back. And that always just having an escape plan kind of can help you out during these holidays.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I totally understand that. And that's why I think with Project Echelon, it was always veterans helping, or civilians helping veterans and veterans helping civilians, because
well, just like anything, the little things, if they go untreated, can turn into big things. So it could be that joke that everyone's laughing at, that the first 200 times it may be something that you totally ignore, but after a while it's like, you know what, this is bothering me seriously. And so then you explode, and then you have all kind of other problems. But it started out as something, and this could happen over months, guys. This could be something that happened back in heck, back in July 4th, because you spend the holidays with the same, group of people more or less, and then right around Halloween or something, it goes into something else, and then it balloons up right around Thanksgiving, Christmas, by New Year's, you're snapping at everybody.
Mhm.
So I think I set this back a few webinars before. Mind your feelings. Mind your feelings and be aware of what you're feeling, because they are real. Your feelings are the most authentic thing you have.
Mhm. Man, yeah, I think that's a powerful statement, and I'd like to maybe stay on that and close on that statement if we can. But like you said, every single one of us has feelings. We all feel them in a different way. We all deal with them in a different way. But regardless, like if you're truly family, if you're truly friends, like we should be respectful of that. I think that's the most important thing. And not only respectful of that, but be respectful of your needs. Because not doing that isn't going to help the situation or help your family either. The last thing your family needs or wants is for somebody to be unhappy and to be in a difficult spot and to create unhappiness that spreads to the rest of the family as well. So you need to take care of you first, so that you can truly enjoy each other's company, right? Like, I think it's a really powerful thing to talk about.
Well, you also have an advantage because, well, at least I know the two of you do, because you're both married. So you have someone who you can put in charge of having your back. Look, I need you to bump for me when your uncle starts saying negative stuff. I need you to shut some stuff down. I need you to at least say that's not cool anymore. Um, so you can put people in charge. You can kind of say, I need you to do this. And if you can't do it, then we can make some other arrangements. But hold people accountable, especially if they're in your corner. If you're rolling solo, then I think you have to I think the timing aspect is a good thing to do, or bring someone with you. But again, showing up late, leaving early is another example of you controlling what you can, and just get to a safe place if you know it's going to be toxic and and potentially dangerous.
Yeah, and I think on that note too, the conversations my wife does bump like you're suggesting, which I'm really thankful for, because my response is not going to be as balanced and calm as hers. But when it happens, I tell myself this isn't the moment for me to talk about it. But I know when I get into a good space, I get together with family individually, not when it's 15 people or 9 people in a house to make my statements, but individually in groups of the husband and wife that I need to talk to. I express when I can in a balanced way kind of what happened, also excusing them from, you weren't the one who did this to me. You might have offered the trigger touching that set me off, and this is why. And if there is a change, like someone says something really distasteful, we can address it at that moment. And then usually the conversation's been pretty good when I'm balanced. Like, oh man, I had no idea. I really didn't mean to hurt you. And oftentimes I find out, they love me. They really want to understand how to help me, and they don't want me to be sad.
So, these are some changing times, and we're continuously maturing. And sometimes, we get to a place where we have to love our family members from a distance. And that may mean we have to love them differently than we did before. So if people are saying something that's truly toxic, more than likely you won't be the only one who has a problem with it. The issue that I have is when no one else says anything about it. You're the only one kind of throwing a red flag on display, or a yellow flag, I should say. And that's when I would probably reassess the whole entire group. If no one's going to step up and call foul, then maybe we need to make these dinners just snacks.
Yeah, I hear that.
Well, gentlemen, I think today was a really great discussion. I think there's some really tangible outcomes. I think Eric brought up a good point, or Mike seconded that. Like, we all, this isn't a veteran only issue. We all find ourselves in these situations, so don't feel like you're alone with these feelings. You may be feeling them or experiencing them differently from one another because of your history and the things that you've experienced throughout your life, but they do exist for civilians and veterans alike. And so things that we can do is, identify who's in our corner, have a plan of attack, have check-in points, and then figure out, what makes it sustainable for you. So if that's stepping away, if that's, making offers to go to the store, or if that's removing yourself from the situation, but then also having a plan and a check-in point after that to make sure that that you stay on par and stay on task with being yourself. Don't letting the negative thoughts get to your head is really important. So those are like 4 really tangible things that everybody can do. Do you guys have any closing statements, things that you want to end with? Maybe some holiday cheer, final holiday advice, or just some season's greetings for people?
Yeah. Well, one thing is just a reminder that, we're all going to screw this up. Civilians and veterans alike, we're all going to mess this up. We're all going to do something and react in a way that we're not super proud of. But that doesn't mean we're failures or horrible people. The things that we do after that screw up, to reflect back on our part in the incident, is truly where actionable change has come for me and from a lot of people. It's not how can I control the environment and the people around me. It's what can I do differently to set myself up and everyone around me for success next time.
I'll,
Go ahead, Mike.
I'm sorry. I'll just say, in addition to everything that Eric Beach just shared, focus on the holidays, focus on the good times, eat as much turkey as you can, and take a nap.
Yeah, there you go.
There we go.
I think the final one for me is just remember, it's not about perfection, it's about growth. And if you grow this season, I think that's a really good present to yourself, and that's all you can ask for. So until next time, we'll be getting together again in January, the 3 of us. Eric is going to be a consistent participant going forward, hopefully sharing some authentic stories like this. And we'll probably invite some more folks from our community to join as we go as well. So hopefully you continue to enjoy this format. Thanks for listening. Happy holidays, and be well, everybody.